Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Hawaii Department of Transportation's Priority Multimodal Network community meeting for Maui County. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few quick housekeeping items. This meeting is being recorded so that we can share it with others who aren't able to attend today. And by staying in this session, you are consenting to be recorded. During the formal presentation, attendees' microphones and cameras will be turned off so we can minimize background noise and keep the session running smoothly. Once we move into the Q&A portion, we will enable mics and cameras for those who would like to ask questions or share comments. And if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to add them to the chat and we'll address them as we can during our discussion. My name is Natasha Soriano. I am the Multimodal Transportation Coordinator for the Hawaii Department of Transportation in the Office of Energy Security and Community Outreach. I'm joined today by our Deputy Director, Robin Shishido, Jen Sullivan, who is also with the Energy Security Office. I have Rachel Roper Noonan from Highways Planning.
I just know from mine I can just take off.
Hold on.
Just show a picture.
Disable. Richard Wallenbecker, also from Highway Planning, and Ignacio Filippini from Maui County, and Nali Yagin as well from Maui County. At this time, I'll turn it over to Deputy Shishido to begin.
All right, Jen, are you sharing the presentation or sharing your screen?
Yes, I am working on that right now. Thank you.
Okay.
It worked before. Okay, play from start. All right, how's that?
Looks like it's not maybe in presentation mode. I can see everything. Is that what everybody else is seeing?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Sorry, everybody. Give me a sec here.
Maybe it's the swap displays to. Natasha, look like there's somebody waiting in the lobby as well. I don't know if you can see the person, let them in.
Yeah, I think it's my connection right now. I'm sorry. Natasha, are you able to share?
Yeah, I can share.
As a backup, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Unless this will work. How about now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, next slide, Jen. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. So the purpose of the meeting for tonight is to share with you our Priority Multimodal Network, and this includes bicycle, pedestrian, and transit facilities. And so we just have a short agenda here, a little bit of introduction, background, then we'll have our staff share about the pedestrian bicycle network and then the transit network. And then finally, we'll turn it and open it up to all the attendees and public and request any feedback or questions that you may have. Next slide, please. So over the years, there have already been a lot of work done, with the multimodal network. There's been a lot of design, construction, and implementation of the network that we have today. And HDOT, along with the counties and other state and community partners, we have all collaborated on and implemented a lot of projects, as of today to make our roadways safer for all users. Most recently, with the Safe Routes to School Advisory Committee, they approved the first tranche of projects along the schools. And just recently, HDOT has notified all the counties that the funding is available for these projects to proceed further. Next slide, please. So the Priority Multimodal Network is a set of strategic projects on the state highway system designed to fill in the gaps in pedestrian, bicycle, and transit across all islands. And as I mentioned earlier, there's already been a lot of work already done, and this network built upon what has already been created, a lot of plans throughout, all of the islands. And, here tonight, we're talking about Maui. And so what this does now is kind of pulls all these plans together, so we can have one coordinated statewide implementation plan. And although, in the network you'll see tonight focuses a lot on the state roadways, but what it does is connect, a lot with what the counties already have. And that way we can have one connected rather than one separated network for bike, ped, and transit. And as you can see on the slide, there's over 100 projects here that's going to be done in the next 5 to 10 years, and well over 300 million is also going to be invested in these facilities. Next slide, please. So in June 2024, HDOT and Navihine entered into a settlement, and one of the requirements was to accelerate the implementation of the Priority Multimodal Network. There was already a HRS that required for this to be done, but with the Navihine settlement, this just accelerated the network and the infrastructure to be completed. Next slide, please. So last month, HDOT released its Energy Security and Waste Reduction Plan. The draft was released about maybe 2.5 months ago or so, and taking some community input, we have our first version of the plan, which will be updated annually. One of the key strategies in this plan was the Priority Multimodal Network, and this needed to be done in order to meet the clean energy goals set by legislature, by 2045. And also recognizing that transportation is one of the biggest costs for households in Hawaii. By building this Priority Multimodal Network, it'll give more options and more affordable alternatives to folks to get from point A to point B. And now with that, I'll turn it over to Rachel Roper from our planning branch, and she'll give more deeper dive into the multimodal network, or ped and bicycle network for Maui.
Thank you, Robin. So as Natasha mentioned and Robin mentioned too, I'm Rachel Roper Noonan from the Highways Planning Branch. I oversee the Systems Planning section, which oversees our bicycle and pedestrian planning for the state highway system. So today I'll be going over the bicycle and pedestrian component of our meeting today. Next slide, please. As Robin mentioned, one of the actions that HDOT must take is to complete the pedestrian, bicycle, and transit networks in coordination with our counties, with the goal of completing this work in 5 years. So in line with that, we reviewed our existing bicycle and pedestrian program, the entire state highway system, and existing land use in consideration of the settlement. We also met with our county partners to ensure we looked at the entire transportation network, and also took into consideration key connections between the state and county networks. Based on that process, we identified projects mostly from our existing bicycle and pedestrian program that we will implement in the near term. In the next few slides, I'll dive into more details about all of this. I'll start by sharing more about our bicycle and pedestrian program and the project identification and prioritization process, and then highlight the projects that are part of this proposed network. Next slide, please. To start, here's some background on our bicycle and pedestrian program. Bike Plan Hawaii was first developed in 1977. As of last year, we had 177 miles of bikeways on the state highway system. For Maui, as you can see, Maui already has a well-established bicycle network and a lot of miles, even more than Oahu, which is denser and has more roadways. So between Maui, Molokai, and Lanai, there's 88.1 miles of bikeways on the state highway system. Next slide, please. Our nationally award-winning statewide pedestrian master plan was first developed in 2013. We have 178 miles of pedestrian facilities statewide, and specifically for Maui, Molokai, and Lanai, 23.05 miles. Next slide, please. Next, let's talk about how we identify and prioritize our projects. Our approach is consistent with national best practices. It's data-driven, consistent with our Complete Streets policy and the US DOT, United States Department of Transportation, Safe Systems approach. It's also consistent with Navahine. So we're continually evaluating new needs. We don't wait to evaluate needs just when we formally update our plans every 5 to 10 years. Needs can be identified at any time. They can be identified by the public, our stakeholder groups, or by one of us on our bicycle and pedestrian team here in Highways, or by our district's offices or through maintenance. So once we're aware of a need, we review the existing conditions and available data, and we develop a proposed project. As I mentioned before, as part of the settlement evaluation, we went back through our list of proposed projects, as well as existing conditions like land use, and just took a really thorough look at the entire state highway system. Because we have limited resources in terms of our staff to design and manage projects, limited materials, limited contractors, and limited funding, we use the above criteria to prioritize our projects for implementation. We use this to develop our short-term implementation plan. So these criteria include safety in terms of crash history and traffic stress. Traffic stress includes things like speed limits and volumes of cars and freight vehicles on the roadway. We also look at connectivity, mobility, and accessibility. So that could be, making sure we fill in gaps and provide access to key destinations like schools, libraries, employment centers, and parks. And it also includes providing multimodal connections. So that could be to transit centers and things like that. We also look at equity, of course. We especially focus on those who might be more reliant on the bicycle and pedestrian modes. These could be areas with higher concentrations of youth or kupuna, or areas where people might not have access to vehicles. And also, we also look at areas with higher concentrations of poverty. We also looked at greenhouse gas potential. For this criteria, we look at roadways with high traffic volumes, roadways that connect to employment centers or key tourist destinations. So we're looking for locations that could attract a lot of vehicle traffic. We also take into consideration stakeholder support. So this could be from our technical community of partners like the counties, but it can also be from the community and members of the public. And lastly, we look at feasibility. So for feasibility, we're focusing on things that would make the project take longer to implement or be more difficult to construct. For example, if we need to acquire land or would impact adjacent properties or utilities, or would need to build a new bridge structure, these types of things add a lot more complexity to the project. Next slide, please. Now let's dive into our proposed projects. We have 73 projects totaling over $300 million. Next slide. So let's start by talking about the proposed bicycle network. There are almost 24 new miles of bicycle facilities that aren't shared use paths. So you notice that I've called out shared use paths separately because they can be used by both bicyclists and pedestrians, and I didn't want to double count them in this slide and then the next slides on the pedestrian network. So these 24 projects are made up of 24 miles are made up of 20 projects totaling $45.1 million. So you can see for Maui, there's 1.75 new miles, 2 projects, and $3.9 million. And then in terms of shared use paths, we have almost 26 miles of shared use paths proposed, over 26 projects, and $146.7 million. For Maui, Molokai, and Lanai specifically, we have 6.91 miles proposed over 5 projects totaling $14.9 million. So adding these facilities to the existing bicycle network, that would bring our total of bikeway miles to 227 miles statewide. And then for Maui specifically, That would bring Maui up to 96.76 miles. Next slide, please. So this map just shows a preview of the proposed and the existing network. If you can see, the thicker lines are the proposed projects, and then the thinner lines are the existing network. Okay, next slide. So now let's talk about the proposed pedestrian network. So there are over 16 miles of new pedestrian facilities proposed that would be constructed by 28 projects totaling $110.6 million. So again, shared use paths are called out separately, which we talked about before, so I won't go over them again. But specifically for Maui, Molokai, and Lanai, there's 0.81 miles of sidewalks over 3 projects and $2.5 million. Next slide, please. So this map shows the existing and proposed network of the pedestrian facilities. So similar to the bike map we just showed, the proposed facilities are indicated with the thicker lines, and then the existing facilities are with the thinner lines. It's a little hard to see, maybe, so we do have other maps that you can look at. So next, we're going to start talking about specific projects. So I'll highlight 6 proposed projects for Maui and Molokai, but keep in mind these projects were identified at a planning level assessment. So a detailed scoping and site visit have not been done yet. Design has not started for most of these projects. Design will be done as part of the project delivery process. Therefore, scope will be refined, added, revised, etc. So specific details about the project, like the type of facility that is most appropriate for the location, potential speed limit adjustments or intersection configurations, etc., that will all be finalized during design and project delivery. And I did see a question pop in real quick. So let me see if it's a quick one that we can answer right now. So what does bikeway mean? So a bikeway can be any of the facilities. So a sign shared roadway, any type of bicycle lane, or a shared use path. So any type of facility that we intend for bicyclists. Please, let's talk a little bit about those proposed Maui projects. Okay, so we have 10 projects shown here on Maui. We're highlighting the 6 that are circled. So once completed, we would have 96.76 miles of bicycle facilities and 30.77 miles of pedestrian ones. Next slide, please. Okay, so the first project we'll highlight is filling sidewalk gaps in Kahului along a 1.5-mile stretch of Ka'ahumanu Avenue from Naniloa Drive to Kahului Beach Road. The needs criteria this met were safety, connectivity, mobility, and accessibility, equity, stakeholder support, and greenhouse gas. Potential challenges were the narrow right-of-way, utilities, and guardrail adjustment that needed to be done. This project was requested by the community. Some of the potential, we went over that already, was estimated to cost $1 million. So part of this project is underway. It's from Mahalani Street to Maui Lani Parkway. This will fill in the majority of the gaps along this corridor. Next slide, please. We just show a little bit more of the existing conditions. We can see where there'll be some utilities and where we needed to adjust the guardrail. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next project is in Pukalani near King Kekaulike High School. We're proposing to extend the existing sidewalk on Kula Highway by 0.1 miles to A'apue'o Parkway. And the needs criteria it met were safety, connectivity, mobility, and accessibility, equity, stakeholder support, and greenhouse gas. So the community requested this project. The sidewalk would help provide a connection to the entrance of King Kekaulike High School. Some of the challenges include utilities and guardrails. The project's estimated to cost right now $750,000 and anticipated to start design in 2027. Next slide, please. So this slide just shows some existing conditions, a little bit more detail of the area we're looking at. Again, you can see the utilities and guardrail that we'll need to take a better look at when we go through our scoping process. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the next project, we'll go back to Kahului, bike lanes for a half mile on Pu'unene Avenue from Ka'ahumanu Avenue to Wakea Street. So there are already sidewalks along this stretch, so this will fill a gap in the bicycle network in Kahului and allow bicyclists to access many destinations near here. The project will extend the work being done by the current Pu'unene Avenue widening project that's underway. The needs criteria this one met were also safety, connectivity, mobility, and accessibility, equity, stakeholder support, and greenhouse gas. Some of the potential challenges, we do have narrow right-of-way, so we'll have to look at that in more detail. The project is estimated to cost about $2.5 million and anticipated to start design in 2027. Next slide, please. So here you can see the sidewalk that's already there and just a little bit more of the project area. So next we'll move to Hana Highway for the next two projects. The first is 5.28 miles from Ka'ahumanu Avenue to Ulupua Place. So this will fill a gap in both the bicycle and pedestrian network and allow users access to Kahului town. It's estimated to cost about $9.6 million and to start design within the next year or two. So the needs criteria met were also safety, connectivity, mobility, and accessibility, equity, stakeholder support, and greenhouse gas. This has a little bit more potential challenges than we've talked about before. It's the grade. So grading and landscaping will be needed throughout the project limits likely. We'll have to look at, the location of utilities and likely guardrails will need to be adjusted. Next slide. Thank you. So here are some screenshots of the existing conditions. You can see some of the challenges we'll face and just a little bit more about the project area. So the next project on Hana Highway is near Haiku Elementary School. It proposes a shared use path from Pauwela Road to Pu'uko'a Place. So this one met safety, connectivity, mobility, and accessibility, as well as stakeholder support. The project was requested by the community to help students access the school. So potential challenges include grading and landscaping that will need to be done, and we'll have to confirm the available right-of-way in some areas. The project should be just starting design very soon, and it's expected to cost $750,000. Next slide. So for this one, you can see there's a little bit of the grade, and you can also see the school. So we'll also have to coordinate with the school or the county as we make that connection from our roadway to the school area. Slide. So another project we have here is on Molokai. It's a 1 mile shared use path along Farrington Avenue from Kalei Highway to Lihipali Avenue. So it met connectivity, mobility, accessibility, equity, and stakeholder support. This project was requested by Molokai High School. It's anticipated to start design very soon and cost about $1.8 million. So the potential challenges are similar to the other projects, guardrails, grade, and then this one we might also have to take into consideration drainage. Next slide. So you can see the guardrail and some of the grade, and then also I think the connection to the existing path. or the existing sidewalk rather. Yeah. Yeah, so that's all my slides. I see that there are a lot of questions that came in, but I believe we'll be holding our questions till the end. So for now, I'll turn it back over to Natasha.
Thanks, Rachel. Before we move on to our transit network, I wanted to give an opportunity to Maui County to share some of their thoughts or feedback.
Don't have any feedback, but I am just turning on my camera to be available.
Okay. Hi everyone. Maybe I can jump in then. Hi everyone. Nolly again from the County of Maui Department of Public Works. Yeah, I mean we're excited to see all these projects get started. We have projects of our own that kind of feed into these areas and feed into state facilities. I guess maybe I can just share some notable projects I guess that we have coming up. Liloa Drive, of course, in Kihei, that would add to the bike network and the sidewalk network as well. We have Waiale Road Extension, which would extend the bicycling facilities and through a shared use path also. And on the west side, we have West Maui Greenway, which is starting up our planning processes, our permitting processes. And there's a bunch of other projects, but perhaps I can just wait till the Q&A if any other questions come up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nolly. Next slide, please. Before we dive into it, I just wanted to share a picture of the new electric buses that were installed or commissioned back in July. And thanks to Deputy Shishiro for his work in electrifying our fleets. Next slide. Our transit network is 39 proposed projects statewide with 5 bus stops on Maui, totaling $1 million. And like the other maps that Rachel showed before, we have our existing bus routes highlighted in the thin purple lines. Bus stops on this map are noted by the blue dots. And for Oahu, there are 18 busway projects. And so their symbology is a little different than the neighbor islands. Next slide. For our transit network, it was really a county-led effort, being that the Department of Transportation does not operate a transit system, but we recognize that our state highway system is a backbone for most of the neighbor islands' major routes. Next slide, please. So here's a closer look as to where the 5 bus stops on Maui will be. 4 of them are in Kahului, with 1 we're examining in Paia. The Pu'unene Avenue stop is already constructed as part of that Pu'unene Avenue rehabilitation project. And the 3 on Ka'ahumanu Avenue will help to serve a transit-oriented development and serve as a transit corridor for Maui. Next slide, please. And as Rachel had mentioned before, these are proposed bus stop locations. The locations are not set in stone on the map. And every location still needs to undergo preliminary engineering and environmental review. So we do still need to determine the feasibility of bus stops at these locations. And just to wrap up what the total network is looking like. Oh, yeah, sorry, you can move on. Good job. Yeah. We have 112 priority multimodal projects statewide and an investment of $354 million over the next 10 years. Next slide. And this is meant to be a living document. And like we said, a lot of these are proposed through our preliminary planning with existing plans, but we still want to hear your thoughts. And so we do have a website if you haven't been able to visit that yet. And I will go ahead and walk you through that. And at the end of this, I will also share a link to our website. So as you enter our website, we have a little bit of background on the purpose of this multimodal network. We have a section if you did come here to register for community meetings. This will also be where we will host the recordings of these meetings so that you can go back and watch or share with those who are interested but could not make tonight. Let me refresh that. On this webpage, we have the network maps that are interactive. And I don't know why they're not showing up. My apologies for my slow internet connection tonight. So we have two maps, the first being the Priority Pedestrian Bicycle Network. If you hit this button here, it'll give you a legend, and we've broken up the projects over the 10-year span. The first 5 years are in solid, and the later 5 years from 2030 to 2035 are symbolized by the dash line. And if you can zoom in into your island or into anywhere on the map and see where projects are. You can even click on them to see a little bit more information, construction year, and route, estimated costs. Similarly, we have one for our transit network. Again, if you hit this little button here, you will get the legend, and you can zoom in to portions of the network. In addition to the maps, we have a project list that you can download. And at the very bottom, kind of to the question that was posed to Rachel earlier, the types of projects within the network, we have a page that you can read more about what those types of projects could be. And lastly, we would love to hear from you. You can submit your comments here. Within this form, you can also drop a pin to anywhere on the map that you choose. So say if you really think a sidewalk needs to be here or a shared use path needs to be here, you can drop that pin and fill out the information, the types of transportation methods you might be using there, and any other feedback that you'd like to share with us at the DOT. So, and with that, that concludes our formal part of our presentation. The QR code that you see on the screen will take you to the website that I just showed you. Again, I'll drop that also in the chat, so if you want to copy and paste, you can. You can email us at h.multimodal@hawaii.gov. And with that, we can transition to our Q&A. Again, we have Genevieve Sullivan, who will be looking at our chat. She will call on people as the questions come in. I will allow cameras and allow for mics to be turned on. We do ask that to get to as many questions as possible, to keep your questions brief or to the point. And with that, Jen, you can start.
Sure. Yeah, so the first question was from Mike Moran, and Rachel addressed it, I believe. But Mike, if you wanted to unmute yourself, if you needed any clarification, it is, what does bike weight mean? Bike lane or highway shoulder, bike path, segregated from traffic lanes? Mahalo. Mike, did you
Aloha.
want to? Oh, hi.
Yep, I'm here. First of all, thank you guys for, I'm sure you worked all day and now you're working all night to help the public. And um, unfortunately, Maui, we always have tough public turnout for events like this. But what we try and do is take advantage of it and spread the word. So when you mention that this will be recorded, we'll try and spread the word on that, on what you've offered to us. And yeah, I just was looking, she did answer it. I was looking for classification of what that meant because for, of course we have different classes of bicyclists. We may not label them as such, but we know that when you ask parents to have their children bike to school, they're not going to go on the Pialani Highway. It's too dangerous. Only the real hardcore cyclists will be on that. If you're not familiar with the Pialani Highway, it has some bike lanes, but at other points, the shoulder narrows to a total of 3 feet. So to have any pedestrians or bicyclists, and you're just expecting drivers who are driving well over the speed limit to yield to people there. So it just doesn't work. We have tried for years to try to get a shared path along that highway. And pointedly, a few years ago, we opened a new high school. And the situation is it's prohibited for anyone to bicycle or walk to that high school, which seems insane, but it's not safe. And the mayor said, until it's safe, we're going to prohibit it. So we hope at some point we can do something on that highway, at least patches around that school that will enable safe bicycling. It really should be segregated as a separate path. I'm trying not to go on and on, so I will stop talking here, but thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. We can put that, into our list of needs, the Pi'ilani Highway, and we'll take another look at that. I think that it's a little bit of a challenging area, but we'll definitely we'll put that on our list of feedback we've heard tonight.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Mike. And our next question is from Katie. Just to confirm, the total mileage of the bike and ped network together is 66 miles of the collective new projects, that is. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from David. Is there a plan to look into alternatives than just concrete sidewalks, perhaps some cheaper materials like concrete mixed with natural fiber?
We can definitely take that suggestion. I think the only thing we'd have to make sure is that we meet whatever ADA requirements are required of us by federal law. But that's something we can ask our designers about.
Okay. And another question from Mike is, how does a community make a request for a project? Does requests to HDOT only for state roads?
Yes, so you can make a request at any time to our bicycle and pedestrian team. I can drop my name and my email into the chat, but specifically for these meetings, Natasha went over the great way we have to comment via the website and the mapping features. So definitely recommend using that as well. And so the comments we receive, we only have jurisdiction over the state highway system, but we coordinate with our county partners, and you can see many of them here today, Nolly and Iggy and Jackie. And so, we coordinate with them. And so, we can pass on anything we receive that's not on the state highway system to them. We don't expect you to memorize what roads are whose necessarily. So we can help you figure that out.
Okay, and next question from Cheryl is, are there any bikeways or sidewalks being planned in the Waikapu area? There are plans for 2 schools, a middle and elementary, as well as over 1,000 units of housing and businesses.
I was taking a look at our maps and I don't see anything specifically there. So we can take another look at that and, also take into consideration where where those new schools will be.
Nolly, did
Maybe
you
I
want to
can
comment?
jump in
Oh,
on
yeah, great.
yeah, I guess generally in that area. So like I mentioned, we do have the Waiale Road extension, which creates a shared use path from Waiko Road to the Hono'opilani Highway, but that leaves a gap towards Wailuku Town. And so as outside of that project, we're also looking at a possible shared use path to connect from Waiko towards Kuikahi Drive as well. So there are things in motion, and yeah, so there are plans at this time.
Dolly,
Yeah, is that
hi. This is Glenn Adolfo,
hi,
Cheryl's
Glenn?
husband.
Yeah,
Hi. Thank you for coming to our community association meetings, meeting with us. But there's going to be that Waikapu Country Town coming up, yeah, with all the development and homes there. There's going to be businesses there, and there's going to be 2 new schools, a middle school and an elementary school. And so along Waiale, especially in front of Waikapu Gardens, there is no sidewalks, and the kids from our subdivision will have to go to those new schools. So we've talked about that, and I appreciate you folks coming in, you and Director Molina, talking to our community about that. But even further down Waiale, going down towards where the county base yard is, there's kids from EL School that run right on the side of that county base yard, and they're like 3 feet away from the traffic, the oncoming traffic. So, maybe looking at extending the sidewalks out there so the kids that go to that school instead of running, it's a track team that does that, but they're right alongside the traffic, and it's a very busy street too. Just the suggestion.
yeah. So to follow that question, we actually do have some sidewalk projects that that fill in some gaps between I'll just say McDonald's on Waiale Road towards the bus stop north of that location, and the location that you mentioned from probably Ko'ohu Street towards
Right.
Kehalani area.
Right.
We have been already looking at things like sidewalks. We have a roundabout project that will incorporate sidewalks as well. So there are things that we're currently working on there.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, the next question is from Michelle. There is a Maui bus stop in Paia at Hana Highway and Luna Place already.
Yes, I think I failed to mention that the transit network is looking either to install new bus stops and or create bus shelters and bus pads in areas that the county has identified that would be beneficial. And then Paia, actually, there are 2 locations, and I think we have room for one of those. And so it's either going to be that Luana bus stop or will be near the Paia Town bypass. Which would be feasible? I think one of the challenges off of Hana Highway is that the right of way is small, and I think the location by the bypass might be more feasible for a bus stop because there is already a county parking lot in that area, which could be more beneficial. So again, my disclaimer at the end was that the sites do need to be vetted a little bit more, and a feasibility study, or at least be vetted for feasibility in each area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. So the next question is from John. Bike user data for routes, bike user data. Bike bus data. Bike bus user data. asking
Yes.
about
I
the
can
data
take
sources, I believe. Yep.
Yeah, I can take the bike data. So, that's something that we're definitely wanting to do more of. Unfortunately, our bicycle and pedestrian coordinator position has been vacant for a little while, and so it's just been a little bit challenging to start a bike counting program. But that's something we've identified as something we want to move forward with, and something we're hoping to do in the very near future to not only help us identify routes, but also, get feedback on how the routes that we're implementing are doing.
Quick question, if I may. Can you hear me? Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Thank you. I just wanted to know if you have any electronic counters on any of the bike paths.
Um, Not permanently. If we do counting, we've done it, by mobile counters, but we don't have a program right now. But it is something we're interested in doing. I don't think they would be in the path. I think they would be mobile, so we could move them around and do it that way. And then also with some new technology, there might be other opportunities as well, in camera technology as well. So, we're looking at different opportunities.
I know this might sound slightly off topic, but I am both a bus and a bike commuter. And here on Maui, I find if you go on Google and you try and do trip planning, it doesn't give you the option for combining what part of the route you want to do on bus and what part of the route you want to do on bike. You can't combine the two things, which is really bizarre. I've tried to communicate with Google, and it's virtually impossible to talk to them or send them an email or give them any information. And I find this a tremendous deficit. And I think you get a lot more people on the bike paths, especially older people like me, who might want to say, for example, I'm in Wailuku, so I'm going to ride to Lahaina, Upper Lahaina, and then I'm fried, so I need to take the bus home. So, sometimes you want to maybe to save your energy because you want to ride your bike in the most beautiful parts and so forth. You basically want to use the bus to get you to a certain point where you then get off, ride your bike, and then get back on the bus. And then maybe on the way home, I'm going to get off at a certain point and ride the rest of the way home. Completely not allowed. You cannot route plan that. Is there any other source other than, say, Google Maps or Google Trip Planning um, that you have for doing this kind of planning?
Not at this time. We just have pretty much our static maps, or our maps online where you could look up where we have facilities to help with trip planning, but nothing like the Google method that can do it, help you create that route. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope you guys can communicate with Google and tell them what a deficit they have.
Yeah, so John, there's a comment in the chat from Katie saying that you should consider using the Transit app if available on Maui. It does mixed mode route planning.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Katie. Okay, so the next question we have is from Clint. Is there a calculation as to how many pounds or thousands of pounds of CO2 emissions will be removed for the investment of $302 million?
That's a great question, Clint. Currently, we have a carbon reduction calculation tool. It's called the PE tool, and you can find that. Maybe Jackie, if you could put that a link to that in the chat. We are asking our engineers, our project engineers, to use this tool to help us calculate how much CO2 reduction we have per our investment. That is done at a project level. And I think that, if that is something you'd like to see and something that you'd like for us to report on this network, we can certainly add a section to that on the website as that information comes up. Yes, Clint.
If the whole point of the 254-page plan is transportation sector emissions reduction, and we've got to reduce some 9 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. We're going to have to prioritize where we spend our money. And it just strikes me that number one, how many cars are we going to get off the road, and how much CO2 do they emit? Does this make sense? Is this the best, use of limited taxpayer funds to invest? Will the return be there? It just seems that like the plan should have what the investment is, but not what the result is. Will this be 1 metric ton, 10 metric tons of reduction? I just don't see any indication in the plan itself.
You need ROI. Good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can comment a little bit about that. So the Energy Security and Waste Reduction Plan was definitely a technical document that took together a real like suite of strategies for all transportation emissions, right? So for aviation, like it looked at sustainable aviation fuel. For ground transportation, one of the major strategies is increasing the use of electric vehicles. And when they did the quantification of million metrics of tons of each of these strategies, it was to draw a line to get us to what it would look like to get to net negative by 2045 and meet the statewide goals that are already in statute and in law. And I agree with you that multimodal bike ped, in terms of that quantification, million metrics of tons of how much it's reducing compared to some of the other strategies, it doesn't have quite as big of an impact. There is obviously a lot of co-benefits with it as well. And it is something that was also just a line item part of the Navahine settlement as something that we would be committed to doing. So it feeds into that, greater plan of all of the other strategies that also need to occur to meet the net negative by 2045. But I do think that there is quantification for multimodal in the Energy Security and Waste Reduction Plan. Hopefully that helps.
Well, the plan has several graphs about how it reduces down to zero. So there must be calculations of every single component as to how much. But there's not a lot of detail in the report that I could find, other than the graphs, to get us there, to get 9 million metric tons of CO2 out.
Right. Yeah, the multimodal strategy is kind of folded in with all of the other ground transportation strategies. And I think that really the most impactful one in that was the increase of use of electric vehicles.
Rachel, can I talk to like one specific project, since I managed to pull up some of the numbers that we have?
Yeah, go for it, Richard.
So the Haiku elementary school shared use path, I think it's about less than a mile long, and it's anticipated in 1 year just to reduce CO2 emissions by 21 million metric tons. 21 million metric tons. So that's just one less than $1 million pass ROI on that. So that's, and multiplying that by the whole network, that's a big, fairly large investment or like impact there.
Thanks, Richard.
All right, Clint, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Could you repeat how many metric tons per mile that is?
Like 21 million for less than 1 mile of path along Hana Highway. It does.
That's based on 21
the
million?
PE tool. The PE tool. It's our own internal calculator that Natasha mentioned.
So we do have it's called the PE tool, Project Island Impact Tool. That's our carbon reduction calculator that was developed by one of our consultants. It plays off or is uses a model similar to that in Minnesota that Minnesota DOT uses. We've tailored it to specifics for Hawaii. We have year-round better weather and things like that. So there are different project types in there. So while there is a best estimation within the energy security plan that may have been reported, we'll get a more refined, detailed estimation as we go through our project delivery process. Once these projects are a lot more fleshed out and have a lot more details, we'll be able to have better numbers.
Yeah, and Jackie put that in the chat because it is publicly available.
Mhm.
That GHG reduction
yeah.
quantification tool. Okay. Oh, Saman has her hand up. Is that it for the chat? Oh, okay, go ahead, Saman. Then we got one more in
Yeah,
the chat.
thank you. I couldn't get the hands to raise my hand there. I wasn't clicking. I have, this is Saman Dias, Chair of Maui Bicycling League. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and thank you for the presentation. Question for you folks, the 88.1 miles as well as the after the additional miles, projected miles, 96.76 miles. How many of those are protected bike lanes? Any ideas? Or where is it documented anywhere?
So specifically protected bike lanes, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but that the type of facility is provided in the maps that are on the website.
I think it would be a good recommendation, if I may, to have the protected, specifically given that we are working on based on the Navahini settlement agreement, and that all started because of children. And if the bike paths are not protected, how can we have our children riding? Specifically, the next question I have, a follow-up to this is, are you folks counting the highway shoulder as a bikeway miles into this 88.1 miles?
Okay, so you two questions. So I'll answer the last one about, are we counting the bikeway shoulder? So we're only counting the bikeway shoulder if it's officially designated as a bikeway and it meets the best practice guidance for it. So in those, we do count it. Regarding the protected facilities, that's why if you notice, a lot of our facilities that we're proposing are shared use paths. To accommodate, a lot of the shared use paths we're proposing are near schools and things like that. So we do have a lot of mileage of shared use paths. So I think, sorry, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but we have 26 miles of proposed shared use paths. So that makes up, well more than a third of, our proposed projects.
Yeah, so you're saying if it is marked as shared use, then they are normally protected. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, shared use path is typically, not part of the roadway travel lanes, right?
Okay.
It depends on the amount of right of way we have available, but typically it wouldn't necessarily be adjacent to the roadway. But for each project, it might be a little bit different because we haven't looked specifically at the exact amount of available land that we have.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. I would recommend, or if I may ask, request that if you could document shared use miles and protected and non-protected. Specifically, I personally don't ride on the highway shoulder where it is marked as a shared, but I personally don't ride because it's just not safe. So it is sort of misleading when we have 88.1 miles and 96.76. It sounds really awesome, but I know for sure coming from the west side, it's like, highway shared path or the bikeway, whatever the terminology you folks use, that counts into this 88 miles, 1 mile, which is a lot of miles. So I think that gives a misleading, and our children, I don't think it's safe. You can't really ask them to be riding on those highway shoulders. Oh, I won't
Yes.
ride. I'm not riding, so how could, it's not safe. It's really not safe. So it's something that we should think about, figuring it out a way to, wherever possible to make it protected, or paint it in green. I just came from Europe, and it just feels more safer when it's visible, and that it's a bike path and a bike lane for people to justify that. So anyhow, that I'm just repeating, just want to make my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you,
and
Rachel.
we do understand, that children have a different, a different user group than, especially some of the more experienced bicyclists. So,
Yeah.
the facilities near schools will definitely be more focused on the shared use path and whatnot. And even right now we're focusing on, completing our network. But after we do all of these projects, we do have, we are doing an evaluation of where we can upgrade existing facilities. So that would be the next step of the existing facilities that do not necessarily have protection. We'll be evaluating how we can add that. Likely, that's going to cost a lot of money because we'll have to maybe acquire right of way, or we have a lot of feasibility issues with those. And so those will definitely be more costly, but and take a lot more time to develop as projects, as we'll have to go through probably the environmental process. But we are looking at upgrading facilities once we implement this near-term plan.
Yeah, and I also would like to make a recommendation while that's happening. Perhaps we could at least have signage, reminding people. A lot of people don't know much about the 3-foot law, and even have signage to show that when a motorist passing, they need to leave the 3-foot law. And I have made a request, and it's supposed to be in process, but I'm making it more a formal request in this meeting, that we start including those signage. And I know DPW has started doing that, so I appreciate it very much. Perhaps we can do it on the state roads as well.
Oh, that's something maybe I'll talk with Nolly about, since you said DPW is doing. So offline,
Yeah.
I can talk with him about what kind of signage that is.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you, Rachel. So in the chat, it looks like there is just one more question from David. Opportunities for bicycle path side commercial activities like a smoothie station or fruit salad food truck or bicycle.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, but it's not something I know the answer to off the top of my head. There's a lot of requirements and regulations on how on the what we're allowed to do with federal money and what we're allowed to do once we've built something with federal money. So I would have to go and look into that. There was back maybe about 10 years ago, there was they were nationally looking at adding some commercial activity to, I believe, to truck stops or something like that, and that required like a relook at the laws. So I'm not sure if that would be required for this, but I would have to take a look at it just to make sure. But yeah, that's a good question.
Thanks, Rachel. And then there's another comment from Katie, and it's really addressing John's earlier comment about the app, the transit app. Are you able to see that, John, of the directions given of, okay, wonderful.
I saw it and I copied it, and I thank Katie very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If anybody would like to come on camera or raise their hand, we have time for more questions. Yes, John.
I just want to say that I think this is a very good presentation. You guys did a great job. And I mean, the timelines are a little long, but it's complicated, difficult work. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate that, John.
I guess seeing as there's no more questions, we can release you guys. Thank you again for joining us. I will give Deputy Director Robin Shishido the final words.
Yeah, thank you, Natasha. And thank you everybody again for joining. When we have these meetings, like Mike said, it's very important for community to attend and get feedback. So again, really appreciate, all of you who have taken time out of your evening tonight. And looks like we'll end a little early, so folks can have the rest of your evening back. And again, this is not the first and final draft of the plan. So, look forward to further collaborating with all you folks. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Sorry. One last question. Yes, there will be a recording. Again, you can get a link to it on the website, where the community meeting section is. Okay. Mahalo. Okay. Aloha, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.